in perspective, but how do you know that the perspective is right? In drawing, so many times, perspective is one of the greatest challenges to art. And it takes a lot of skill and ability to draw in perspective. Well, it's the same thing with life. What is the true perspective or perception of the perception is maybe the thing that you think it is, but what's the truth? This Christi Karate with Christi's Clarity, and today I am talking from my book, Beyond the Box, Creative Thinking Expanded, and I'm actually on chapter 8 right now that's called All in Perspective. So what I wanted to talk to you about today is when something is big and maybe looming over you, like a forest, we'll call that a problem or a forest, and you cannot see the, what is it that the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? And the trees are like the problem, but the forest is the great grand life that we live, right? So how does this work? Last week I told you the story about the bug in the water that fell into the water, and I scooped it up onto the shore. It probably thought that was the most horrific thing to ever happen, right? So what would happen to maybe a challenge you're having or something if you changed your perception, your perspective, and instead of saying, oh, my life sucks, or things never work out for me, or blah, blah, blah. What if you said, I don't know why this is happening, but I know good will come. I don't know why this is happening, but I know good will come from it. Now, I just had a really intense month of August. I don't know why. It just felt like everything was out of sorts. And at the beginning of the month, I just went, I'm going to shut off my scheduling link and take a little break. And it just never felt good. And I didn't know why. Well, and this is a perception too, that the changing of the calendar had anything to do with it. But my perception was that it did. And I let it be that way, that when September came along, things broke open, right? And what broke open? Well, I had a couple of things that happened. I might have mentioned this last week, but it bears repeating if I did. But one of the things, two major things happen. One is I realized that in my money, I had been living since even 5 years old. I can remember manifesting both miracle money and miracle experiences and just things out of the blue. And even on my wedding video, my dad said, Christi was always way out there in left field, but she always came up smelling like roses. And that's so true, that my life has always been that way. Why? Because I just expected that's what life was about. And so this last month of August, when things were feeling icky, I just went, well, that's the way it it is feeling as whatever next is happening, right? And so we turned the corner into September, also into fall. Maybe that had to do with the time changing and things like that. And I really had a conscious awareness of how I create miracle money, right? So I told the story, I believe, last week of the ADU. I want to tell you another story about when I was in college. Now, I got accepted into Claremont Graduate School. Now it's called Claremont Graduate University down in Claremont, California. I had applied there because that was the college I wanted to go to. But if I thought about it, it was kind of unavailable to me because the tuition was $30,000 a semester. I had no savings. I had no family support. I had just lost my job, but I knew what I wanted to do. And so what I chose to do, look at this here. What I chose to do was to just accept the acceptance. And then, as Genevieve Barron says, leave no stone unturned. And I just went assuming that this was all going to work out. And yet I was going to do everything possible to make sure it worked out. So I applied for all work study and scholarships and grants, and I, found a place to live there that was in the home of somebody else, and that didn't work out great in the long run. That's another story. But I got a small little grant of $1,500. I got some work study, and I knew the power of tithing in gratitude, not like in a have to, but I was grateful for that $1,500. How far was that going to go? $30,000, then living expenses, art supplies, la, 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 la. I didn't care. I mean, I cared, but I trusted, right? So what did I do? I tithed $150 of that. I mean, like if I had nothing, why would I ever go and throw away $150? But I know how the universe works. I knew how it worked for so many years, but I didn't put it together as a system. So I just took $150, and I was helping with a youth group at a church then. And when the tithing thing came around for the offering, I took my $150 check, and with a sense of like, just like, okay, universe, show me how you're going to give this back to me tenfold. Now, I did not give it to get back tenfold. I just knew the universe would. And so I was curious, what's the universe going to provide for me? And so I dropped that $150 check in there. And then in perception, I went about my sorry life, right? I had gotten the woman was abusive to her daughter that I was living in her house. I just couldn't be there, and I ended up moving into my studio, which was not supposed to be. I'm trying to avoid saying it was illegal, but I that was what I had. That was the option that I had. And so I just went along knowing, like at the deepest core of my, this is where I am meant to be. And so after putting that tithing in with such a feeling of like, I love you, universe, let's see this happen. But it wasn't to do it to see it happen. It was just curiosity. 3 days later, I got a letter from the Claremont department that said, due to the recommendation of the art faculty, you have been awarded a $150,000 grant. That saw me through at least the first year of my schooling. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't that grant. It was 15,000. Sorry, not 150. 15,000, but that was 100 times what I had tithed, right? It wasn't like, oh, I'm not good at math, but it was amazing. And I knew then that I was always protected, cared for. Anytime I had a dream, my husband and I traveling for a year without having to work around the world, so many things in my life have been miracles. And so what happened when I turned the corner to September, I went, you know what? There's a system to this. And I had some help from my mentors. I do always keep my mentors and coaches in supporting me. And I just went, you know what? There's a system here, and I can share it with you. And so I have unlocked the system, and I'm going to be sharing that next Thursday on September 22nd. And I will get the link put into this chat here, so that you can come if you would like to, and to make it available to everybody and for you to experience your money miracle. I made it $47. Now, is that the purpose of this call? No, except that I am here to serve. That's my work in the world, and I am always financially supported to do that. And so if you want to change your perspective, do it. Consider, well, actually, you can't always change your perception, but think about the bug. If you're in turmoil right now, just think, oh, this is saving my life somehow. I don't know how. That bug had no idea. It never knew how its life was saved, but it was. And so just know that if you're experiencing a dark night of the soul, financial challenges, relationship challenges, or whatever, just know, like, expect that that is just something taking you out of the situation and dropping you onto safety. This is Christi's Clarity, and I will see you next Friday at 10:10, and we will continue with perspective. And guess what? Next week is the law of abundance. So, and you're also welcome to join me at my Miracle Money Manifesting. And you can always go to my website, Christi Karate, my website, masteringtheartoflife.com. Go to events and you can find it. And I'm going to work on getting it in the chat here. Okay. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.